Good evening. It is May 19th. And, well, that's new. Something's missing. We had some pretty wild wind, 25, 30 mile an hour straight line gusts, or straight line wind with 40, 45 mile an hour gusts hit us pretty much for the last 3 days, and it's slowly been petering down. It's still probably going 12, 13 miles an hour. This one's been rocking and rolling. In the last couple of days, that thing clocked like 15 kilowatt hours, or I forget exactly, but a lot. Last time I looked, I stopped looking. See, there it is. I just pulled it out of the trees. My earth anchor on this side, over there, and over there, you can see the fluorescent straps, is the other two earth anchors. Those were 5 foot of rod, downward, jabbed into the ground, and then I dug out around it about 1.5 feet, 2 foot on both of them, and poured it in with concrete. This one, I cut this tree down to make room for the turbine, and I figured, what in the hell is better for an earth anchor than a tree stump, especially a fresh hardwood tree stump. So I put an eye hook here, and the wind must have been beating against this enough that it actually twisted her right backwards. And as it started to bend, it probably got a little bit more play, and every time it hit it a little further, and a gust came, and it must have pulled it back just enough, and as the gust let off, the pressure relieved, and it sprung, and the cables let go. They got tossed up and over the greenhouse. Doesn't look like it did any damage to the greenhouse, but these guys ended up in the sticks over there. The other two anchors are still hooked up. They had no effect. Turbine went down into the brush. Tail jabbed right into the ground right there. It didn't do a lot of damage. It only dinged up my little stabilizer blade, but I think I'm just gonna rip this right off and straighten the main part of the tail back out. These are the blades I ended up swapping out to. Instead of the 3-blade 810 millimeter furling type blades, I just went with the speed blades, and they definitely give me a little bit more power. I saw some good numbers out of it, but it must have been spinning really good when it let go, because the only way I can foresee it landing tail down is it must have basically helicoptered down and just jabbed into the ground. But all in all, it wasn't catastrophic. It's a pain in my butt. Yeah, she's got to go back up. But I was worried that maybe my ring let go. But no, welds are still good and everything's holding. There isn't any rust building up. Cables are still good. I used the stainless clamps and just cranked the crap out of them. And then I got the second set clamped on down here. This stuff's all in good condition yet. Now it's basically just to hold the pull plumb. It wasn't there so much for support. It prevents what it's doing right now. When the wind blows, the top would bend out, and then it would wobble in the middle. So I put that one there just to stop that, just so all of the energy was hitting the turbine and not vibrating down through the pole. But when it went down, the pole must have obviously wobbled real hard, and there was quite a bit of shock that shot down. And because we had 3 inches of rain right where I'm standing, this ground is really loose. Oh, look at that. Well, pushed it right back in the hole. Well, you know, I don't know. Maybe I can save that. When this dries up a little bit, I'll see if I can squish this down the rest of the way. And maybe dig this out, put some more weight on that. Obviously, the other earth anchors I think are pretty good. You know, there's 4 bags of cement, 4 80-pounders. Each of these holes dug down good 2 foot, and it's about 2 foot wide. The ratchet straps worked awesome. Instead of using turnbuckles and having, you know, a pretty limited range of adjustment and plumbing, that worked really good for being able to, you know, pull her this way and that way until it was perfectly plumb. I actually set my scaffolding up and I put the pole plumb on there and got her dead nuts. But as far as these ones, I have to clean the clamps off, get the mud out of them. And I think I am still going to use the stump, but obviously something way thicker. You know, this had this rubber sleeve on here, and I guess I didn't realize how chintzy a steel that was. So I'll have to do a little shopping around, and I'll find something heavy, 2-3 times as heavy as that, and stainless, and then I'll probably weld it, because I don't want this to happen again. I'm really lucky it fell the way it did. I'll be able to get this back up in the air and making power with a couple helpers and get her back plumb. It's just a bummer because it was so perfectly plumb and finally really had her dialed in good, but oh well. You can't contain the weather, you know, it's just a tremendous amount of energy, but best we can do is harvest a little bit of it. That one held on good. I actually did put a little, after this one went down, I put a little bit of extra weight, some blocks and a couple extra rocks on each of the earth anchors. It never moved or anything like that, but I just didn't want to see them both go. It was pretty nasty wind. This tree was bending over quite a bit, and that is an old spruce. That's older than any of us watching YouTube. Real quick, I'll just show you this. Slap this up with some extra building material from various job sites and reinforced poly. I think, I don't know if you can see that. Started to separate there a little bit. Must have been slapping from the wind. So I'll have to reinforce that. I think I'm gonna get the poly corrugate up on top of this because I don't think it's gonna hold up on top. The rest of this is all double overlapped and stapled real tight. Well, maybe I'll put some lats on there to pin her tight, but the rest of it stayed pretty good. Yeah, I just whipped some shelves up. Basic, you know, a couple of shelves, and now the wife can get vegetables started early. We'll be able to grow some sensitives, you know, your kind of finicky stuff that the birds and the rabbits mess with, lettuce and basil and oregano, a couple of things that we've just had bad luck with out where critters can get at them. Next year we'll be able to get our vegetable seeds for the main garden going in here early, and we'll use a little bit of dirt from the garden so they're already acclimated to what they're going to grow in. And you know, our photo period and our temperature and everything else, you know, the air quality here, which is pretty fantastic, being that we're right on the outskirts of the city. You know, look around, it's green. Good to see it coming back. You might not be able to see that, but there's buds on everything, so I'm glad to see my view improving. Can't see the apartments over there anymore. But moral of the story is don't cheap out on the little stuff. Something so stupid. Now it's gonna waste me another day with a helper or two to get this thing back up and clean up the mess. A lot of this crap just blew in off the road and is tumbling through the yard, and every time the wind picks up I gotta come out here and pick up garbage, whatever. That's the downside of being close to a city, is people are jerks and they drive by and toss stuff out their windows, and I end up picking it up out of my backyard. Anyhow, oh yeah, this is the blades that I swapped out. These were the 810 millimeters, and this is a furling design, so when this gets to a certain speed, it will just, to prevent your turbine from over spinning, it'll pull your turbine out of the direct wind. And it did catch wind really good. It never really kind of went to max speed, and I already have enough problems with turbulence. I don't need any kind of furling mechanism or furling blades. I need blades that spin absolutely as fast as possible. So I went back to the sword style, the real sharp. Those are the high speed blades, and those are 750 millimeter, and there's 6 of them. So you know, you add it up, I did end up with more swept area, so more torque spinning the generator, and no, it definitely seems to do better. It catches it. It was flying just beautiful, and it's actually quieter with the 6 speed blades on than it was with the 3 furling blades. This one's just flying like a dream. She's probably making, I don't know, 150 to 300 watts right now. And that's the same style blades, but these are the 900 millimeters, and there's 5 of them. This one's pretty quiet. At this speed, it makes kind of a steady whistle. Slower than this, it's silent, and faster than this, it's silent. When it exceeds this kind of speed right here, it makes just a real quiet whisper, and that's when I know it's really making power. That's when it's making 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 watts. And kicking my dump load controller on. I actually just got in the mail my DC electric water heater element from Thermodyne. I got the 24 volt 600 watt element, and excited to get that wired up and installed, because it's warming back up outside and I don't want to keep on burning to keep the water hot. So I'll get that set up, because the dump load controller is kicking on every single day, whether the sun comes out or not. Just this turbine running by itself, with that one laying in the sticks, has been kicking the dump load controller on all day, on and off, on and off, on and off. With no solar coming in, we didn't get nothing from solar today. obviously. Just wind. Just the one turbine, one Chinese turbine's keeping my batteries not only floated, but bouncing off the rev limiter with the dump controller kicking on to prevent it from overcharging. And now my auxiliary bank is completely rehabbed and recharged, so I'm having to drain power back off of that. I hooked up, a couple DC fans and different stuff just to keep power bleeding off of it, but now I'll hook up that element and that'll go to good use, and then we can store energy yet another way. So anyhow, thanks for watching. Don't cheap out on the little stuff, and take care.